vSphere Replication Recovery. In this module, I'm going to demonstrate the recovery of a virtual machine at our DR site. Okay, so let's get right into this here. We can recover one VM at a time with two recovery options. Um, one of the option is to sync the recent changes, and then the second option is to use the latest available data. So I'll differentiate these two here, but let's get to the vSphere web client first and proceed with the recovery process, and then we'll get to these two options here. So I'm over at my DR site here. This is my main site. I'm over at my DR site. vSphere application. So if we go over to the monitoring or the monitor tab for this here, come over to my incoming replication. I see I only have one here. We could do a sync on this. If I do a sync now, this would just uh, actually it already finished. Once I click on this here, it went ahead and do a quick sync of from our source. But this is the button here that we want to work with, start recovery. So once I click on this here, I have my two options here. Okay, so the synchronize recent changes. Um, Here the source VM would need to be accessible and powered off. Okay, so we're seeing a little warning here that the VM is currently powered on. So if we are doing this, we'll need to go and physically power this off. With this option, vSphere application would replicate the latest changes from the source to this target before recovering the VM. Um, in this case here, this would increase the recovery time, but it would also ensure that no data is lost during the recovery. Alright, and then we have the second option here of using the latest available data. So here the latest replicated data is used. So there is no synchronization for the latest data before recovery from the source. So we would use this, typically you would use this recovery option if we need to recover a VM, but the source site or VM is no longer available, right? Some amount of data would be lost here, depending on when last replication has occurred. So we'll need to choose one of the latest um, replication or recovery point. Okay, so I'll just use the latest available data. Let's assume that our source site or our main data center has failed. So I'll just hit on next here. Okay, so where I want to recover this at the target, so I'll just do the DR data center there and just hit on next. And then the resources that I want to use for this recovery. So in this case here, I'll use the SXI6. This is the only host I have at this DR site. I'll just hit on next. And then we have a little summary here. So I can go ahead and power on this VM after recovery. What should be noted too, we would need to manually connect the VM to its network once this is recovered, since by default it's recovered with the network disconnected. Okay, so let me just I'll leave power on there and I'll just hit on finish. So notice at the bottom here, this VM is currently being recovered. Good. So we have our VM recovered now. Just refresh this. So now I notice over on virtual machines here we have two VMs. So let me go to my VM and templates view, and we should see now our Linux 01 VM recovered, and we should be able to take a look at this here coming up. Okay, so this is already up here. As I mentioned too, once a VM is recovered, the network is disconnected. This basically is to ensure that we don't have any conflict in our network here. If we already had Linux 01 running at the source or at some other location. So we could just verify that too. If I come over here, right click my recovered VM, edit the settings, I'll notice here too that the network adapter is currently disconnected. So I can just manually connect this and have this recover Linux 01 VM be fully operational on our network.